Ever wondered why when you order chips in America, you get French fries, and in Britain, you get what Americans call potato chips? It's quite a conundrum, isn't it? Well, it all boils down to the delightful differences in vocabulary between American English and British English. These variations are particularly noticeable when it comes to food and drink terminology. This isn't just about chips and fries, it's about cookies and biscuits, candy and sweets, zucchini and courgettes. The list goes on and on, adding a dash of charm and confusion to our transatlantic conversations. So, why do these differences exist? Well, it's a tale of history, migration, and cultural evolution, peppered with a bit of friendly rivalry. But don't worry, we're here to help you navigate this linguistic labyrinth. Join us as we dive into the fascinating world of food and drink terminology across the pond. Scene script. First, let's explore some of the basic food items that have different names. When you're in the mood for some hot, crispy, deep-fried potatoes, Americans would say you're craving French fries. In contrast, the British would simply call them chips. Now, if you're thinking of a packet of thin, crunchy, seasoned potato slices in American English, you're talking about potato chips. But in British English, they're known as crisps. Moving on to the sweet side of things, what Americans call a cookie, a sweet baked treat often filled with chocolate chips or nuts, the British refer to as a biscuit. Similarly, candy, the general term for sweet confections in American English, is called sweets in British English. Now let's talk about some veggies. The green summer squash that Americans know as zucchini is referred to as courgette in the UK. Similarly, the purple vegetable that Americans call eggplant is known as aubergine across the pond. One more food term that often causes confusion is cilantro and coriander. While both terms refer to the same plant, in American English, cilantro is used to refer to the leaves and stems, while coriander is the term for the seeds. In British English, coriander refers to the plant as a whole, including the leaves, stems, and seeds. Lastly, we have a fun one. What Americans call jello, a sweet wobbly dessert the British call jelly. But don't get confused, jelly in American English is a type of fruit preserve similar to jam, which in British English is, well, jam. As you can see, even basic food items can have completely different names. But wait, there's more. Moving on to more specific food items, things can get a little more complicated. Let's dive in. First up, we have zucchini in American English. It's a type of squash that's green and often used in salads, stir-fries, and baking. On the other side of the pond in British English, it's known as courgette. The same vegetable, two different names. Next, we have eggplant. This is a purple oblong vegetable that's quite popular in dishes such as ratatouille and baba ganoush. In British English, though, it's called an aubergine. So if you see aubergine parmigiana on a menu in London, don't be confused. It's simply eggplant parmesan. Then there's cilantro. This is a herb that's often used in Mexican and Asian cuisines. It's known for its unique flavor that people either love or hate. In British English, this herb is known as coriander, a bit of a departure from the American term, but it refers to the same herb. Finally, we have jello. This is a sweet wobbly dessert that's often a hit at children's parties in the States. Now, in British English, this is known as jelly. However, don't confuse this with American jelly, which is similar to what the British call jam. Yes, it's a bit of a linguistic labyrinth, but that's part of the fun of exploring language. So there you have it, 4 more examples of how American and British English can differ when it comes to food vocabulary. From zucchini to courgette, eggplant to aubergine, cilantro to coriander, and jello to jelly. Interesting, isn't it? How the same food items can have such different names. Now let's move on to drinks. Thirsty? Let's talk about some drink terminologies. In the United States, a common term for a carbonated beverage is soda. However, stroll across the pond to the United Kingdom, and you'll hear it referred to as a fizzy drink or soft drink. Now imagine you're at a cafe. In America, if you ask for a coffee with cream, you'll receive a coffee with a dollop of dairy cream. In Britain, ordering a coffee with milk will get you something similar, though typically with a splash of milk rather than cream. Let's move to something refreshing. On a hot summer day in the States, a lemonade is a sweet, tangy drink made with lemons, sugar, and water. However, in the UK, a lemon squash is the equivalent, though it can sometimes refer to a concentrated lemon syrup that you mix with water. Here's a sweet twist. In America, a hard candy is a sweet treat that is solid and dissolves slowly in the mouth. But in Britain, you'd ask for a boiled sweet to get the same type of candy. Lastly, let's touch upon stronger drinks. In the US, liquor is a term used for distilled alcoholic beverages like whiskey, vodka, and tequila. But in Britain, these same drinks come under the umbrella term spirits. Remember, these are just some examples, and language is flexible. Depending on where you are and who you're talking to, you might come across variations. So the next time you're ordering a drink, you'll know exactly what to ask for, no matter where you are. Now let's imagine you're at a restaurant. The vocabulary differences don't stop at the menu. When you sit down to enjoy a meal, the first thing you are likely to order is the appetizer in American English. This is the small dish that whets your appetite for the main course. However, if you're dining in Britain, you would ask for the starter instead. It's the same dish, just a different name. Next, you move on to the entree. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. In American English, entree refers to the main dish, the star of the meal. In Britain, however, entree is another term for the starter. So when you're ordering your entree in Britain, you're actually asking for your first course, not the main course. If you want the main dish in Britain, you would ask for the main course. Then there's the matter of settling the bill. In America, when you're done with your meal and ready to pay, you would ask the waiter for the check. But if you tried to do the same in Britain, you might get some puzzled looks. In Britain, you would ask for the bill instead. So, to recap, in America, you would order an appetizer, then an entree, and finally ask for the check. In Britain, you would order a starter, then a main course, and ask for the bill when you're done. These differences in restaurant lingo might seem minor, but they can make a big difference in your dining experience. The last thing you want is to get your courses mixed up or struggle to pay at the end of your meal. It's also worth noting that these are not hard and fast rules. Just as there are regional differences within the United States and the United Kingdom, there can also be variations from restaurant to restaurant. So the next time you're dining out, remember these differences to avoid any confusion. We've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? We've dipped our toes into the fascinating world of food and drink vocabulary, comparing American and British English. From the appetizing French fries versus chips debate to the sweet confusion between candy and sweets, we've navigated a tasty trail of terms. Remember how we puzzled over zucchini and courgette, and the equally intriguing eggplant and aubergine? And who could forget the drinkable differences like soda versus fizzy drink and coffee with cream versus coffee with milk? We even ventured into the realm of restaurants where an appetizer becomes a starter, an entree is the main course, and the check is actually the bill. Let's not forget, these differences are not strict rules. They can vary based on regional influences and personal preferences. Remember, language is dynamic and ever-changing, so keep exploring and enjoy the delicious journey of discovering new food and drink vocabularies.